Man, it's your big brother K-Rino, and had to hit y'all on the late night. Had to hit y'all on the late night because earlier we were filming an episode of the podcast, filming an episode of the Underground Dialogue podcast, and got off to a late start. But I wanted to come and holler at y'all real quick, um, and kind of give y'all some quick little tips on how to move forward, going into what is called the new year. But the first thing that we're going to do is subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But if you are subscribed, be sure to come right in and hit the like button as you come into the door. Hit the like button, y'all, right now. I need y'all to do it. I see a real disproportionate number sitting up on my screen right now. So if you haven't hit the like button, y'all go ahead and do that right now. That the thumbs up thing, the thumbs up thing that y'all see, just in case you might not know what it is. And we're going to go right into this topic, because it's a question that we got to ask ourselves. We can't go through life thinking things are one way, but they're really not what they seem. So I'll give y'all a little time for those who are in here to hit the like button if you haven't already, and then we're gonna go right into it. Because I don't want to hold y'all long. I think I held y'all kind of long last night, but I don't want to hold y'all long at all. And but we want to try to start the year off great. I don't like to hear the term New Year's resolutions. I don't want to hear that. I don't like when people say, "Oh, my resolution, my resolution." And I've had this conversation before, so I'm not gonna go deep into it. But I just don't like that term because I think that we get into a bad, terrible habit of lying to ourselves and lying to other people at this particular time of the year, especially after we've been lying to ourselves and everybody else all throughout the year anyway. So it doesn't do any good to just pick this day to think that you're gonna just magically have the spell come over you, and then all of a sudden you're gonna start, you know, doing exercises and eating right and all this different stuff. So, but what I will say, as from instructions of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, is to not wish people Happy New Year, but to wish them God's peace. Because the minister said, the new year may be happy and may not be. So it's best to wish people God's peace. I just wish God's peace on all of you and on all of us. So that way, that would be the best blessing that we can receive as we move forward. Thanking God not just for this day, on the Western Gregorian calendar, but thanking Him for every second, every minute. Should be cherished to the best of our ability. But we're gonna get into this topic, man. We're gonna get into this question that we got on here, man, and it is: how much of what you've been taught all your life, made to believe all your life, what percentage of that, how much of that is actually true, and what percentage of that is actually false? So you can take it and put it on the scale, or if you can play the percentage game. And so we'll say, I would say it's half and half. Some people will say, well, man, no, I believe that everything I've been taught is the truth. Some people have done their own research and have come to the understanding like, man, I feel like 95% of what I was taught was a lie. And the the places that these teachings come from, or how we'll kind of get down to the bottom of it, of understanding that. You're talking about parents, you're talking about church, you're talking about school, you're talking about um, just acquaintances, people that you know, people that you are around all the time. These are the people who you get your teaching from. These are the people who you get your information from, and the places that you get your information from. And as you come up as a young, impressionable person in this life, as you come up as a young, impressionable person in this life, early on, we pretty much believe everything that people tell us. We believe everything that people tell us until we find out otherwise, or when those words that are being told to us don't seem to manifest themselves. They don't seem to come into fruition the ways that people have taught us that they would. And there are different reasons why this happens. Some people don't mean no harm. They're teaching you wrong because they've been taught wrong. And in a lot of cases, I'm talking about your own parents. I'm talking about your own mother and father who may not have meant you no harm, but they are passing down traditional um, schools of thought. They're passing down traditional ideologies and things of that nature to you, their children, because they felt like this is the truth. They've always been taught that, but they've never been in a position or never took the time to study and research the things that they've been taught and their parents taught them. So it's a cycle that if there is lies incorporated into it, that cycle needs to be broken. And who better to break it than you? It would be better for you to break it so that your children won't fall victim to the same set of fairy tales and lies that were imposed upon you. Because a lot of times, once the child finds out the truth, if they don't have the understanding to kind of understand the history of how we got to the lie, then they will take the resentment out on the person who told them the lie, even when it was not done intentional. See, so um, December 25th comes along. It comes into my mind. December 25th comes to mind, and we go out of our way and that on that day to teach our children an intentional lie. This isn't even something that we've been deceived on. We early on we was, but then we found out that we said, well, yeah, man, this fat white dude is going to come down the chimney and bring you presents and bring you gifts. And we teach this to our children. We set this thing up to our children. And the more you watch these little shows where you see all of this artificial um, foolery, like reindeers flying through the sky and snowmen coming to life and elves walking around building toys and all these different things that set a precedent of bringing our children into a mindset of believing in fairy tales. And when you talk about that whole fairy tale image that's presented to us year round, one of the biggest culprits of that is the interpretation of scripture. The interpretations of scripture are responsible for some of the biggest perpetuations of fairy tale images in our mind because we've never been taught how to understand what those words mean. We've never been taught how to understand what those stories mean, what those parables mean. And so much of that stuff has been taken in a literal sense to where we now believe that um, a snake walked up to Eve in the garden and started talking to her. The snake had vocal cords and could talk like a human and just walked up and started talking. And a snake would scare a man or a woman off just being a snake. But the snake would definitely scare somebody off if it came up being a snake and it knew how to talk. So these are some of the images that are in our head that we may look at. You may be listening to me right now and saying, well, man, that's harmless, man. That ain't nothing. Nah. because it sets a precedent in our mind that all types of things that we encounter and come across can be presented to us in a false artificial way. And we got grown people, grown men and women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s still believing in the false interpretation of certain words. And nothing can really stand unless it's founded on truth. And further, to push it further, it's hard for truth to stand when the understanding of truth is not present. So you can know a fact, you can know an actual fact about anything in this world, but if you don't understand it, see, if I say 20 times 50 is 1,000, right? 20 times 50 is 1,000. And somebody commits that to memory, if somebody commits that mathematical problem to memory, then they could say it anywhere. Somebody say, yes, that's right. But if somebody asked them, okay, well, 20 times 50 is 1,000, can you explain how 20 times 50 becomes 1,000? I don't really get it. And you're not able to formulate it, to lay it out in a formula, to show it, like they used to say in school, to show your work, then you prove yourself to not have the understanding, and that threatens the power of the truth. If y'all understand what I'm saying. So even once we kind of learn what is, we have to immerse ourselves in the study of it to kind of be able to grasp it, to be able to explain it on recall. I mean on impact, to be able to explain it. And we don't do that a lot with our children because we don't have the patience. See, um, back in the days, I would ask my mother what a word means, and she would tell me, go look it up. Go look it up in the dictionary. And I said, oh, I didn't want to do it. I was like, well, you tell me, you tell me, you tell me. I didn't want to go through the process of learning it. I wanted it the quick and easy way. But she was like, no, you go learn it, because once you read that definition, it should give you a greater understanding, and it gives you alternate uh, meanings of the word. You get more of an in-depth, layered grasp on what it is that you're trying to learn. So we got to stop being lazy. But the first thing that we got to stop doing, we have to get to the point where once we know, we have to have it in our mind that we're going to teach our children and anybody else who wants to know, we're going to teach them at all costs. We're not going to get arrogant and self-righteous with the truth that we learn, because too many of us make that mistake. When you finally do learn something, you start looking down on people who don't know. And you're looking down and disrespecting people that don't know something that you didn't know just a few months ago or a year ago or however long ago it was. And now you being, arrogant, self-righteous about it because now you know it. See, that is a misuse of knowledge. And you have the knowledge, but when you act that way with the knowledge, it demonstrates that you don't have wisdom. Because a wise person doesn't act like that when they get knowledge. So knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, they all go hand in hand. You have to have understanding. So speaking from the standpoint of a black man, we talk about certain days. Christmas is what it is. It's what it is or what it ain't. But we talk about days like Thanksgiving. We talk about days like the 4th of July, and days that have no, days that should not put us in a celebratory mindset. But yet we continue to follow the rituals and the traditions of it and celebrate it simply because we've been made to believe that we're somehow connected to it in a positive way. See? So these are lies. These are things that we've been following and believing all our life, but we don't go into the history. And now we've been messed up so bad that even if somebody comes to us and say, well, hey man, have you ever studied the history of what was done on Thanksgiving? Have you ever studied the history of where of the condition that black people were in on July 4th, 1776? Have you? It's so bad that we'll reject the possibility of learning truth. We're like, no, I ain't want to hear it. I don't even want to hear it. No, ain't nobody got time to hear all you finna try to come with all this knowledge. And man, no, I don't got time for that, man. Ready to go eat some barbecue. Ready to go pop some firecrackers. And we find ourselves doing things that are really worthless and are really irrelevant to us and to our well-being moving forward. So the clock strikes midnight tonight, a little bit over an hour ago, right? Hour and some change ago. And for depending on where you live, I guess on the West Coast, let me see, I think y'all still got a little more time. But on the East Coast, it was an hour before us, Midwest and all that Central Time, we 12 midnight, maybe an hour and 20 minutes ago. And even before the clock strikes midnight, the first thing you hear is people outside, blah, 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 shooting guns, busting guns, blah, 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 blah. Where did they come from? Where did they come from? What's the significance of doing that? What's the point of, okay, well, this so-called New Year's Day, which is a whole nother conversation, has rolled around. So now that means that it makes sense for me to go get my gun and just walk outside and start shooting in the air. Where did that come from? Why do we feel that that's important? And what do we get out of that? What is the benefit? So when you get through shooting your gun in the air, as you walking back into the house, you got a smile on your face. What is it that you've accomplished to do that? Other than firing a pistol and shooting a bullet into the air that has to come down somewhere, which is the part that a lot of people don't necessarily think about when they shoot in the air. The bullets don't magically dissolve in the air like the firecracker, like the fireworks do. It don't hit the air and then just magically just disperse into cotton candy or something like that. It operates. The bullet operates under a law, and that law is the law of what goes up must come down. And there have been reports over the years where people have just been standing around chilling, and a New Year's bullet just bloop, drops down and kills them because the bullet still comes down with force. So these are not young children that are participating in this type of activity. These are grown people that can't wait to get outside and bust their guns in the air and participate in a tradition that has no significance and that benefits you 0%, all while rolling over into a new year claiming that you're going to do this and you're going to change this and transform this part of your life. And I'm not going to do this no more. And I'm not going to do that. And that lasts probably about, how long do resolutions last, y'all? Let me see what y'all think. How long does the average person stick to their resolution, in your opinion? You make the resolution on January 1st. How long does the resolution last? 3 days, 1 week, 1 week. See, so we shouldn't be focused on trying to say we're going to do something based on just words. We should say that we're going to put ourselves under a regiment of practice, right? A regiment of practice to work towards and work on improving certain things in our life to make us better. What are some of the other lies that have affected us? Things that we've been made to believe that if we just do a little study, we find out that it's BS. And that not only is it BS, because the things I spoke about in terms of the holidays and all that stuff, that's bad. But people will make the argument, well, it's not something that's just detrimental, even though I feel like it is in its own way. But what about some of the things that we've been made to believe are good for us, but they're not? We've been taught in this country, man, that in order to be healthy, in order to be strong and healthy, you have to eat 3 meals a day. And I know this the part where a lot of y'all gonna part ways with me, because y'all still believe that. Y'all believe that you're supposed to eat 3 times a day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and all this BS that's been taught to us all these years by uh, medical professionals and so-called nutritionists and all that. But here in America, we are, unless somebody overtook us, but I don't think they did, America is the most obese country on the planet. And I knew that before I even saw a statistic on it, because in my travels around the world and different places that I've been, I was somewhere and I just noticed, I was like, you just don't see a lot of overweight, heavy set, let me just go and say it, fat people in certain parts of the world. You just don't see a lot of it. Every now and then you'll see somebody, and even if they they big, they have a little, it's not bad weight. It's just the way that their body is structured, that they're just bigger people. But over here in America, man, we are the fattest nation, the most obese, overweight nation in the world. But yet, the nutritionists and the medical professionals, they say it's healthy to eat 3 times a day. It's healthy. Well, not as that it's healthy. They market and promote fast food, junk food, alcohol, all these different things that we partake in, we've been coaxed into partaking in, and you feel like the more you eat,